Trump's Liberation Day is huge. He has single-handedly begun the transformation of the entire global economic system. Now, I'm not an economist, lawyer, or banker. My outlook is based on 25 years of research, political interventions, and a commitment to build a beautiful civilization. This video will break down why these tariffs are far more important than most commentators understand. And the big secret? That these tariffs address the global demographic crisis. I'm Mike Steger. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you want to help build this new golden age. Globalization is really a system of genocide. That might seem extreme, but that is the result. Since globalization, the birth rate of all advanced industrial nations has collapsed. It's so bad that entire nations may cease to exist within the next 50 years. Whether we look at East Asia with South Korea, Japan, and China, which have the lowest birth rates in the world, or in Europe, France, Italy, Germany, and the UK, or large nations like India, Russia, and the United States, all major nations face a population collapse. Is this a coincidence? Or is this the intended goal of globalization? Globalization was created for global corporations to run the world. Created by British Keynesian economists to counter a system based on sovereign nation states, globalization was funded by massive amounts of government debt, while it undermined the role of national governments and handed economic power to the big global banks and corporations. In essence, globalization was an intended revival of the British colonial system. This was a system run by private corporations, like the British East India Company, and financed by private central banks, like the Bank of England. And whether in the 19th century or today, this kind of system always creates a bonanza of stock market gains, but it also always exploits cheap labor, weakens governments, and gives total control both to corporations and the law firms that represent them. None of this bodes well for the population generally. Even nations which have big trade surpluses today, like China, South Korea, and Japan, have shrinking populations. The whole planet has a growing demographic crisis. There are just too few families and children. This is not a coincidence. Globalization undermines the value of the individual. By casting the individual as a cost factor, the value of each person is minimized, while corporate profits are maximized. This was the goal of globalization, not the unintended consequence, but the actual goal. This is the same reason why the United States revolted against the British Empire in 1776 and then set up a strong government with protectionist tariffs to defend the value of American citizens. As our Declaration of Independence declares, all men are created equal. But how are they equal? Not physically. No two people are the same in anything. So why is this statement true? First, let's admit that if it's not true, then our entire legal and political system would change. Our idea of freedom itself is based on this concept. Unfortunately, the answer to this question is what all economists ignore, and it's why the entire field of economics is quickly collapsing. So why are we all created equal? The answer is somewhat obvious. The human soul. Or to put it another way, that each individual is made in the image of the Creator. But within globalization, the human soul does not matter. What matters is corporate profits. Only within the nation state, as it was established by the United States, is the human soul the bedrock of society. This is why it's so important that under President Trump, the United States has declared an end to globalization and reasserted the value of the human individual, and by implication, the immortality of the human soul. And this has economic implications. All production comes from labor. All capital comes from the profits of labor. And the main source of profits from labor come from scientific discovery and new technologies. And where do new discoveries come from? The individual human mind. The individual is at the very center of all aspects of economic growth. Individuals create discoveries, apply new technologies, and are the labor force to power companies, maintain cities, build big infrastructure, and keep the whole process going by creating new families. If the system does not defend the power of the individual, then any economy, any culture would collapse. The institutions that pushed globalization knew this and intended to reduce the population. This is why the global climate change religion has sought to destroy the building of infrastructure and energy plants. Without these kinds of investments, there will inevitably be less people. That means weaker nations and less opposition to globalization. Look, our nation's industrial infrastructure, our cities and towns, our highways and railroads, our energy and manufacturing plants, our ports and airports, our shipbuilding and steel factories, these were all built up over centuries by the sweat of the brow of our ancestors. This integrated system of culture and production, this legacy of builders and citizens, this is our national commons. It's our shared inheritance that together, based on our work and our shared sacrifices, we will give to future generations. This is what a nation is. Under globalization, these national commons have been dismantled, and it's been done within the course of one generation. Our great industrial and cultural cities, like Boston and New York, Baltimore and Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, which were once brimming with industry and working-class families, have all been gutted and destroyed. By motivating corporations to pursue cheap labor for greater profits, we undermined not only the creative powers of the individual, but we destroyed the incentives to build modern industrial infrastructure and to build new cities. This is why our national commons has been neglected for decades. And it is the national commons of infrastructure and industry, of science and education, of art and architecture, politics and culture, which is the treasure we leave to our children and grandchildren. This was our forefathers' gift to us. And this will be our gift, our shared gift to our future generations. This is what our nation, the United States, demonstrated was possible to all nations. That a nation exists for the common good, for the general welfare within our preamble to our Constitution. When we take a step back, these national cultural commons of industry, of infrastructure, of cities and culture represent the continuity of development of our civilization over 3,000 plus years. From Homer and Moses, from Plato and Jesus Christ, we have been building a civilization that we today must carry forward. And this is why Liberation Day was so important, because we are to become builders again. And this is the great secret behind Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. If you enjoyed this content, hit like and subscribe, and join our conspiracy to build the new golden age.